So a couple of my friends had a party over Christmas, and it was really fun, and they did such a great job of setting it up. And in the middle of the party, there was some games going on, and I've never liked games. I've mentioned this in my other videos. I always felt kind of not very coordinated and slow, and I just don't like the competitiveness that gets brought out in people when they're playing games. And that's my own thing. I know that that's also like my own insecurities and stuff. But nowadays, there are things that really emphasize my lack of coordination, and it's like a real thing. And these friends are very compassionate, very understanding about my situation, and it's very obvious when I'm around them that my mobility, especially in my legs and lower body, is quite it just is difficult for me, like, to navigate my surroundings in a balanced and easy way. So I really appreciate their understanding of that. And with the games that they were playing, they were all different possibilities in there, as far as like maybe some of them involved like moving with your legs, and then others were just sitting and using your hands and your arms and stuff. So I really appreciated that they wanted me to get involved, and they wanted everyone involved. And then one of them had suggested that the next game, that nobody knew what the games were going to be about until you kind of volunteered to be one of the people playing. And so this friend of mine said, why don't we do this one together? And so I said, sure. And obviously in my mind, I knew that she was, even if she wasn't totally aware of it consciously, she would be very aware of my situation and my mobility, like the mobility hangups that I might have. So this involved picking up something with chopsticks, but using just one chopstick, and her and I being able to coordinate so that we could each, like, we each represented one chopstick, and so we had to kind of come together to be able to lift something and pile it up onto something else. Anyway, hopefully you kind of get the idea that basically we had to use dexterity of fingers and hands, so my legs weren't involved, and we were sitting, and you'd think that that would be easier. But along with the, it's funny, like that whole song, the hip bone connected to the leg bone connected to the foot bone, whatever the song is, that's no lie. Like, everything is connected. So even though what shows more is the mobility or the weakness in my legs, that is connected to the rest of us. So because it's a nervous system thing and everything's connected, I actually don't have very good dexterity with my fingers, and I can get tremors in my hands. Sometimes it can be brought on more when I'm nervous, but actually the nervousness comes because I am very conscious of the tremors. And so if I think someone's watching me, or there's something that, I know I'm not being judged or evaluated or among friends, but it's like I don't want them to worry, then I probably end up being more shaky. And so these people that were very well-meaning didn't know or realize, and not for their fault at all, nothing wrong with them, but I did not say anything about it, but which I could have. But during the whole game of me trying to be the other part of the chopsticks and just navigating, like trying to pick something up with her and then putting it on top of something to pile it up. The whole time, I wasn't even anywhere close to thinking about like piling things up. I was like, wow, all the people at the party are going to be watching, not because they're being judgmental, but it's just part of the game to like see what people can do. And so the whole time, all I was thinking was like, how do I keep my fingers and hands from shaking? Or, yeah, again, it was like I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was just worrying more about them worrying about me, or like wondering what was wrong with me, because the other people at the party wouldn't know. And even like I said, the friends that through the party that know me well wouldn't have known to what extent those kind of things can affect other parts of my body besides my legs. So yeah, they didn't know that the whole time. I was just like, oh, let me keep a steady hand, not even to accomplish something with it, but just to keep my hand steady, because that in itself would make me feel a bit like self-conscious. It was interesting. And then I thought, when I was dancing, I had already been diagnosed with MS, and I was self-conscious about physical activities because I had not been a sporty person in my past. Like, I hadn't really been into sports. So when I would go to dance festivals, or, even share rooms with people who were there for the festival in another city, and going there to take workshops and social dance, and I was really excited about it, but most of those people didn't know that a lot of the times on the dance floor, social dancing, even besides the fact that you get nervous because you're dancing with people you don't know and you want to be good at it and stuff, but on top of that, people didn't know that I was conscious of like, what would my body do today? Like, will it be able to survive, the energy required to do this? Would I be stumbling and losing my balance, or would I be in flow and like really feeling good and nobody would notice? And those people didn't know. Most of them wouldn't have known, because there were hundreds of people there, that like what I was going through, and that sometimes if I was social dancing, like if someone stepped on my foot, I was already not feeling certain parts of me, especially in my legs or my foot. So like I wouldn't even know if someone stepped on me. And that I was very nervous about how my body would be able to handle things. So I didn't enter like Jack and Jill competitions. Because of the tremor part of my body, like that would get nervous. Of course, I'm sure I was getting nervous as well, just out of normal anxiety of like being in front of people and competing or whatever. But on top of that, I didn't want to feel this like tremor kind of thing come on in my body, and then it's partner dance, and then I'm making someone else feel that, and in their mind they're probably thinking, wow, she's really nervous, and then it makes for a very awkward dance. But I, like in the first example with the party, like I could have said something to make it easier for me and the other person, but I didn't want to. Like I wanted to just be normal and be able to do what other people could do. And what I didn't realize is that sometimes I would go into like performance type things. Very, like, it was very rare, but a couple of times I did. And even those people didn't know like the amount that I practiced to the details of what the dance performance needed, because my body could not remember, like could not take the muscle memory of remembering the steps or the sequence or whatever. So I actually like would map everything out, and those people that I was dancing with or that were teaching the choreography didn't know the extent to which I went to learn it in my body and in my mind, and to the point of like writing the counts and the movements down, going over it over and over and again, and that being like sometimes the only thing that I would do during the days, because I wanted to be a part of it, but my body was not able to even understand like spatial awareness or how to retain those movements in my body. First of all, how to do them accurately, and then to remember them and retain them. And then the spatial awareness, like my body has it cannot, I don't want to say cannot, like it's not like never, but in terms of directionally and spatial awareness, my body can get really lost as to like which way were we facing, or when we come out of a room, like, wait, which way did we come in from? Like, and I used to think that this was just stupidity on my part. Like, I thought, why can't I figure this out? Like, I used to think I'm so bad with directions. And then it became really bad with dancing and choreography and muscle memory. And the things that I just mentioned that other people didn't know, I didn't know that these problems can actually come with having an illness that deals with your nervous system. And it was much later, I've talked about this in past videos, that I learned about myelin and how myelin is what helps you retain, like get muscle memory. And the biggest thing with MS is that it actually is breaking away and breaking down the myelin. So the thing that's supposed to wrap around your circuits in your body to allow you to build on previous learning and retain, get things in your muscle memory, like that was specifically what I was losing. And I didn't know that that was happening. Like, I didn't make the connection. I mean, I had heard about myelin, and it wasn't until I started singing that I learned that this is like actually something that can be really important. It is really important in learning anything to have myelin, so that you can learn from the last lesson and build on that, rather than always having to go back and relearn and not retain things. But the amazing thing what I didn't know was that you can rebuild that myelin. You can rebuild, you can build that wrapping of your system, of your nervous system, of your circuitry, so that you can fire up new circuits and new pathways so that your body does start retaining things. So besides not telling other people what I didn't even know was making it difficult for me to learn to dance or move or coordinate or be at a party and just do some simple little game. I also didn't know that there are things that we can do to rebuild that again, to strengthen it. And what I didn't know is that intuitively my body knew that. Maybe it was trying to tell me and I wasn't listening, but there was something in my energy. Maybe it was my passion for dance. Maybe it was just like I loved learning, and I would see other people doing it, and it just like I was like, but I want to do it. That so there was something that didn't make me give up, and instead of giving up, I just kept doing it and doing it to like a really like I feel like, again, this is not putting myself down, but I feel like if someone had put in the time and effort the way that I did, and they were like at a regular pathway of learning, like they didn't have any issues in learning or retaining or whatever, they would be soaring in their whatever it is that they were doing, like whether it was dance or art or music or math or science or whatever, because what I would put in was far beyond what I think most people would need to even get to the point that I was at, which was just getting by. And I didn't want to just get by. So the other thing that I didn't know was how strong I was. Because when I look back on it now and I see this unraveling of the myelin, and I haven't been dancing as much, so I haven't been re-strengthening the circuitry, and my body is having much more difficulty trying to navigate my world and just walk and take steps. And but on top of that, I was hit really hard with mold toxicity in my apartment a couple of years ago. So when I think, like when I see it now, when I see what this can do to a body or a person, and I see like how my spatial awareness, it's not just that it's not that I'm stupid, it's not that I'm slow, it's not that I'm, there's something wrong with me. It's that these kind of illnesses and breakdowns of the body or the myelin, or a system that's really important to like help us integrate and go about our days and do normal things that we take for granted. Like the fact that I was going through that for the past 15, well, more than 15 years now, but especially in the 15 years that I was still dancing a lot, I didn't know how resilient and strong and like a go-getter I was, because the fact that I did what I did during that time, even if I wasn't getting to the level that I wanted to, now when I look back on what is happening to me, I'm like, it was happening back then. I just kept pushing forward and deciding not to know that it was happening to me. And because I didn't face that it was happening to me, I was able to get past it to the point where I was doing all these things that technically, like I was told that I wouldn't be able to do. And the reason I'm leaving this video is because I think I'm trying to say that you can do it too. Like And I can do it again. I truly believe that. I do believe that illnesses come to us to teach us something, and not to hurt us, but to show us a new way of showing up in our lives, and maybe show us something that we aren't seeing, that we need to live out this other part of our life that's also important. But I also feel, I do still believe that our bodies have the power to heal themselves, and if we listen to what they're telling us, we can do that. I know that's a really controversial kind of topic, because I don't mean to sound not compassionate to people who have lost others to illnesses, and or are dealing with, if you yourself are dealing with something that is really making your life hard. But I think in the midst of the what's making it hard, there are beautiful things that sometimes we can not see, because we're so trying to be the old version of ourselves. I was talking about this in my last video, and the quote that I shared in that video said something about, stop, like, allow that new version of you to come out, because the old version doesn't exist anymore. But actually, I don't totally believe that. I think the old version exists, and the old version of us can actually help us in our new version. But we don't have to hang on to the old version and just try to live our past. We can use how we were in the past to help us now and in our future, and to become our future selves. And for me, I want to take on more of that resilience in me. Like, I am blown away now when I think of what she did, like what I did, but it was that past version of me. Like, there's something beautiful, I think, that I didn't tell people when I was at a dance event or a festival, that, hey, like, I might not be able to do this because this is what I'm going through, because I wanted to focus on what I could do, and there were things that I could do, and I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. And maybe it's okay that I didn't tell my friends at the party that, hey, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this game because I'm going to be shaky, and I can't actually coordinate. Like, I can't even put on makeup very well. When I do these videos, I laugh at myself, because if I ever close my eyes even for a second in the video, I'm like, whoa, my eyeliner is like completely, like, not even in a straight line. But my hands get shaky. I don't have very good dexterity and, like, with little things anymore. And but even that, I totally believe that we can fix that. Like, it's not to be fixed. I don't want to say that like there's something wrong with anybody that has any of these issues, but I do feel like the body is telling us something. I recently met someone like a month or two ago who had some difficulty in his hands, in his fingers or something, and he was told, like, he wouldn't be able to do this or that again. But he decided, actually, I've always wanted to play the guitar. I'm going to learn to play the guitar. And people are like, what? Like, how are you going to play the guitar when you have this issue with your fingers? And he's like, well, that's exactly why I'm going to do it. And now his hands are so much stronger, and he doesn't have that issue so much with his fingers and his hands. And I think that's what I did with dance. It was like, what? You're telling me that I won't be able to move and I won't have all this, like, coordination and whatever? Well, that's why I'm going to go out and do this thing that's going to help me coordinate and balance and learn how to get to know my body and to keep it strong and moving, rather than what you're telling me will happen to me. And so people might not know what you're going through, and you might choose or not to tell people what you're going through. But you also might not know the full story of what you're going through, meaning that you might only feel the aging or the aches and pains or the diagnosis or the you know the the messages out there that say like you won't be able to do this, or this is what your life is going to look like, but they don't know you. And if you get to know yourself through whatever it is that you're dealing with, you will find that there are parts of you that you didn't even know existed that can help you through this in such huge ways. Like parts of you that will totally surprise you at, okay, maybe I can't dance right now, but I have started delving way more into Spanish because the songs that I was listening to in salsa, bachata, tango were all Latin, Spanish songs, and I wanted to understand the lyrics more, and I knew I was learning a bit of Spanish, but these days, because I'm not moving as much the way that I wanted to, I'm sitting and listening to, like, I'm learning more Spanish, and I'm loving it. And I'm going to say, like, I'm not doing it instead of dancing. I'm going to believe that one day when I'm dancing again, whatever that looks like, even if it's way different than what I was doing before, I'm going to be able to understand lyrics and Spanish and dance and have a whole other depth to what I'm doing with the dancing. And I'm going to see the beauty in what is happening with me right now, because I think we don't see the whole picture. And when we think we know the whole picture, but we're actually missing a lot of the positive things that are actually happening for us, not to us, we miss out. Like, we're missing out on the reason, like the purpose that this is happening. I do believe that things happen for a reason. And I'm going to trust that the universe, because dance has taught me in a huge way to trust in what is happening in this moment, to trust the process, to trust in the universe's plan for me. So, yeah. They might not know, and you might not fully know what this is all about. But I sometimes think you don't need to know, and you can just decide what you want it to mean and be open to, this is happening for me, not against me. It's not happening to hurt me. It's happening to help me and to steer me in the direction that I'm supposed to really be going. Thanks for listening.